welcome to RTO with Iain. Today it's Marathon Wednesday, and today we're going to look at the Yes studio albums. As you know, we did a review of the new album, and I did say I don't know where it would sit with the rest of the albums, because I did enjoy the new album. So the only way I could do that was do a full ranking, and here we go. I've included Keystudio in this one because there are some really good tracks on it. So I've got 22 for us to look at today, so we better get started. So yes, we know lots about Yes, formed in 1968 with John Anderson, Chris Squire. They brought in Peter Banks, Tony Kaye and Bill Bruford. They've had 19 musicians through the band, but since 2015 it's been Steve Howe, Alan White, Jeff Downes, John Davison and Billy Sherwood. So coming in at number 22, we go to the 17th album, released in November 1997, Open Your Eyes. On here we've got John Anderson, Steve Howe, Billy Sherwood, Chris Squire and Alan White. We've got Igor Korshkev plays keyboards on some of the tracks and Steve Porcaro on others. Billy Sherwood's actually on electric guitars on this, because obviously Chris Squire's still with the band. So the first track, New State of Mind. Yeah, nice start. It's got them distinctive Yes harmonies. One of the better tracks on the album, I think. Open Your Eyes, the title track. It's neither pop, prog, he just sits there meandering, bit of a filler. Universal Garden, this isn't not too bad. It's got some lovely guitar work from Steve Howe as ever. John Anderson sounds great on this. It's reasonable. No Way We Can Use, this is as far away from the Yes sound as you can get. I'm not very keen on that one. Fortune Seller, my favourite track on the album. It's got some nice guitar work from Steve. Chris Squire's bass is funking away there. Really good track. This sounds very Yes to me. Man in the Moon, just not my cup of tea. Same with Wonderlove, it's just not particularly good. From the Balcony, some highlights of here, of course, is Steve Howe's guitar playing. Always like listening to him. Love Shine, too poppy for me. Somehow Someday, it's not too bad, it's listenable, but it's got a really good guitar solo. The Solution, it's trying to create the proggy sound of Yes. They've gone a little bit too far. They've really thought about this. I think there's no improv in this. It's okay at the start, but it sort of withers out. Okay, this album is very confusing. It's got some bright spots, but it's not Yes at all. I don't know, trying to change with the times or anything, but it just didn't work for me. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 21, we have the 13th album, released in 1991, Union. Of course, this is where both sort of bands have come together. You've got the Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman and Howell, and the Yes. So on here we have got John Anderson on vocals, Steve Howell guitars, Trevor Rabin guitars, Chris Squire bass, Tony Kaye keyboards, Rick Wakeman keyboards, Bill Bruford drums and Alan White drums. First track is called I Would Have Waited Forever. This is so cheesy, it's unbelievable, and I don't like it. Shock to the System, I don't mind this one, it's pretty good. Masquerade, you just can't get enough of them little Steve Howell virtuosos. Lift Me Up, that's too poppy for me. Without Hope You Cannot Start the Day, I don't mind this one, nice vocal from John, pretty good. Saving My Heart, I just don't like. Miracle of Life, it's sort of yesy, but it's alright. Silent Talking, I like this one. This is the actual one that actually sounds like a Yes track. I think it helps who wrote it. Anderson, Howe, Wakeman and Bruford. That's probably why I like it. The More We Live, Let Go, it's good. It's a good track, but not Yes. Doesn't sound like Yes, but it's a good track. Angel What, I like this one. Again, it's Anderson and Wakeman. Dangerous, Look in the Light of What You're Searching For. Overproduced. Oh, it's just horrible. Holding On. This is a good track, but it's more suited to the John and Vangelis, which I do like. Even Song, it's just a little bit of Bill Bruford playing around on the drums. Take the Water to the Mountain, it's not too bad, this one. Give and Take, yeah, another track that I'm not very keen on. Oh, this is a mixed bag album. It didn't work, did it? Joining the bands together, terrible thing. But it's amazing when I've looked going through this. The tracks I prefer are the ones done by Anderson, Howell, Wakeman, and Bruford. This was never going to work, was it? So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay, coming in at number 20 then, we have the 12th album. Excuse me, I've got something in my eye. And it's not my eyeball, that's better. See what I'm doing now. Yeah, so coming in at number 20, we go to the 12th album, released in 1987, Big Generator. On here we've got John Anderson on the vocals, Trevor Rabin on the vocals and guitars, Tony Kaye on the Hammond organ, Chris Squire on the bass, and Mr. Alan White on the drums. First track, of course, is Rhythm of Love. I don't mind this, it's one of the better tracks on the album. I like the guitar work from Trevor Rabin on that, pretty good. Second track is Big Generator. Great vocal from John, but the rest of it's pretty naff. Favourite track on here is Shoot High, Aim Low. Love this. The atmospheric vocal from John is fantastic. Almost Like Love, not a particular favourite of mine. Love Will Find a Way, it's okay. Finalise, it's okay. The guitar's alright from Trevor, and that's about it. I'm Running, very mediocre track, nothing special. Same with Holy Lamb, very mediocre. This album has got a couple of good tracks on, but it didn't have the same impact as 90125. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 19, we have the 21st album, released in 2014, Heaven and Earth. It was the first album that featured John Davison on the vocals, and sadly the last album that featured founding bassist Chris Squire before his death a year later. So we've got Steve Howell on here, Chris Squire, Alan White, Jeff Downes and John Davison. First track is called Believe Again. It's a pleasant enough track, but it's not inspiring. It just lacks something. The Game, It's okay again, sort of meanders, but it has got a good solo from Steve. Step Beyond, it's okay, it's pleasant enough, but nothing special. To Ascend, again, it's pleasant, but it just lacks some injection to make you want to go, oh, this is good. In a World of Our Own, again, it's not my favourite track at all. But I do like The Light of Ages, very good piece of work. John Davison sounds really good on this, and it's just great to hear the bass line from Chris Squire, pretty good. It was All We Knew. Again, bass highlights on this track are the bass line from Chris Squire and some of Steve's guitar work. Subway Walls, this could have had a little bit more substance, but Jeff Downes' keyboards sort of lift it. This album had some high points, but it's not very consistent. It's some of the tracks just meander. It's a shame, because this was Chris Squire's last album. He played great on it. The bass lines are terrific, but the rest of the album seems a little bit lackluster. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 18, we've got the 20th album, released in 2011, Fly From Here. This features newcomers Benoit David and keyboardist Oliver Wakeman. So we got Benoit David on vocals, Steve Howell guitars, Chris Squire bass guitar, Alan White drums, and keyboards done by Jeff Downes and Oliver Wakeman. First track, Fly From Here Overture. Love this, the delicate keyboards from Jeff, pretty cool. I like Jeff Squire. Then we get Fly From Here Part 1, We Can Fly. It's okay, it's not particularly brilliant. The second part though, Sad Night, it's just lacking something. It's okay. Then we get The Madman of the Screens Part 3. Nice harmonies here, it's very good. Fly From Here Part 4, The Bumpy Ride. It's just some nice acoustic work from Steve Howell. We Can Fly Reprise. Again, Jeff Downes' keyboard is superb in this. The Manuals Wanted Me to Be. The harmonies are great. It does lack something. Life on a Film Set, it's pretty okay. Hour of Need, some nice guitar work from Steve on the acoustic, and keyboard from Jeff. Solitaire, more truly amazing classical guitar from Steve Howell. I love listening to him playing guitar. Into the Storm, you can hear that Chris Squire bass booming through. It's not too bad. Not a bad album. I just think it lacked something, and we'll find out about that a little bit later. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Excuse me. Okay, coming in at number 17, we go to the 18th album, released in 1999, The Ladder. On here we have got John Anderson, Steve Howell, Billy Sherwood on electric guitars, Chris Squire on the bass, Alan White on the drums, and Igor Koroshkev on the keyboards as well. First track is Homeworld, The Ladder. This sounds really good. This has got that classic Yes sound, that richness of the Chris Squire bass line. John's vocals are great. Alan White blends well with the guitars. It's a really good track. It Will Be a Good Day, The River, pleasant enough song. Lightning Strikes, nah, doesn't do nothing for me. Can I is just a pointless bit of rubbish. Face to Face, definitely got them Yes sounds in this one, and nice guitar work again from Steve. He always plays a blinder on these albums, and John sounds good on that as well. If Only You Knew, don't mind that song, it's pleasant. To Be Alive, Yep Yada, nah, it's alright. Finally, one of the best tracks on the album. I love Alan White's drumming on this. The Messenger, again, we've got one of them great bass lines from Chris Squire, and then it comes in with delicate little bits of guitar from Steve. New Language, I love this track. It is proper Yes with a brilliant bass line from Chris. Nine Voices, this reminds me of the beginning of I've Seen All Good People. It's quite good. Again, a very pleasant album. It's not the best album, but it's pleasant enough to listen to, and I don't mind listening to it. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, coming in at number 16, we have the 14th album released in 1994, Talk. This was the last album that featured Trevor Rabin and Tony Kaye. So we've got John Anderson, Trevor Rabin, Chris Squire, Tony Kaye and Alan White. The Calling. It's a solid enough track, got some really nice keyboard from Tony Kaye. I Am Waiting, again it's not too bad, some great guitar work from Trevor on this, don't mind that one at all. Real Love, nice vocal from John Anderson, it's okay. State of Play, love the drums at the beginning of this, it's pretty cool, but that's all that really the highlight. Walls, very radio friendly. It just doesn't do anything for me. Will You Be, Where Will You Be? I can't get into that track at all. Now the next track, In the Stream, is brilliant. It's split into, like most of these long tracks, split into 3, 4 bits. The first bit, Silent Spring, nice instrumental to start. Great guitar work from Rabin, sorry. Then we got In the Stream, Talk. Definitely my favourite piece of the in the middle, the Talk bit. Very updated prog, very good. The keyboard and guitar work so well together on this. Last bit, Endless Stream, love this. Tony Kaye, a great piece of work on that. This album's definitely a lot better than The Big Generator. This was from that lineup of the band. There's a little bit more from, like on 90125 on here. It's pretty good. I don't mind listening to that one. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay then, coming in at number 15, we have the most current album, The Quest. Yeah, it sits somewhere in the middle. It's the first album since the ladder to feature Billy Sherwood, and it's the first album without any original member of the band. So we've got John Davison, Steve Howe, Jeff Downes, Billy Sherwood and Alan White. Opens up with The Ice Bridge. This still remains my favourite track on the album. The rich keyboard from Jeff, some lovely guitar work from Steve Howe, and probably John Davison's best performance on vocals with Yes. Dare to Know, it's a really good track again. The orchestral arrangements are pretty good. Minus the Man, it's got again really good guitar work from Steve Howe. He's really good on this album. Leave Well Alone isn't too bad. The Western Edge, pretty good. I don't mind that. It's got some nice arrangements. Future Memories lacks something, that one does. Music to My Ears, lovely piano work from Jeff Downes. And then we got A Living Island, which is broke up. It's got lots of bits of that early Yes in this. It really does remind you of the early days. Then we get the second CD, which is Sister Sleeping Soul. The most prog sounding track on the album, I don't mind that one. Mystery Tour, a little bit ordinary, but it's got a very good guitar solo from Steve. Damaged World, definitely a filler track. Okay, when you remember when this album came out, I said it, I thought it was really good. But when you compare it with the rest of the Yes catalogue, I don't think this will get any higher. It's good, but it's not classic. It never will be classic. They've tried to go back to that original sound, and I admire her for that. I do like playing this album, but there are obviously other albums in the catalogue that I much prefer. So I'm going to give this, in the big ranking, an RTO ranking of 7.8, which is a little bit different than I did on the album review. Okay, then coming in at number 14, I couldn't do this ranking without putting this in. It's the compilation album released in 2001, Keystudio. Basically, it's all the studio tracks off the live studio albums of Keys to Ascension that came out in 1996 and 1997. The lineup on here is basically the classic, one of the classic Yes lineups. John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Quayle, Rick Wakeman and Alan White. First track on this is called Footprints. This does now go back to the early days of when this band were together in the 70s. Rick Wakeman's keyboard work on that is great. I love it. Be the One, another of them split up tracks into The One, Humankind, Skates. Again, pure classic. Great guitar work from Steve Howe, strong as ever. Then we get the brilliant Mind Drive. You got combinations of some of their earlier stuff, things like From Close to the Edge and bits of Starship Trooper, Ritual. It's all in here. It's a great track. I love it. One of my favourite tracks, actually, from Yes. I love it. Bring Me the Power, solid modern prog with that delicate sounding Yes. Great bass line from Chris. Sign Language, the interplay between Steve and Rick on this is fantastic. That is another great little track, 19 minutes long, spit into togetherness, Crossfire, Giving the Things That Is, All in Half, How Did Heaven Begin. Again, it's really good. It's got all them elements of progressive rock that these guys were good at. Reminds me a little bit some Telegraphic, bit of Relayers in there, that sort of sound. It's not as good as Mind Drive, but it is still a fantastic track. Children of the Light, probably the weakest track on this little album. As I said, I couldn't do a full album ranking of Yes without popping this one in, because it's got some great tracks on it. I do like listening to this, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.9. Okay, coming in at number 13, an album that released in 2018, and it's Fly From Here, The Return Trip. The band actually, I don't think the band were happy with the original, so they pitched it to Trevor Horn, who produced it. Why don't you sing the vocals yourself and remix this? And when they did it, I think Horn actually cited, saying as the factor that he made this decision. So I thought, why not? Because I would have to live with the album for the rest of my life, so I might as well redo it. This is the first time that this lineup of Yes has been together since Drama, so it's the Drama lineup. So we got Chris Squire on bass, Alan White drums, Steve Howe guitars, Jeff Downs keyboards, and Trevor Horn on lead vocals. Now we've done through all the tracks previously, but I'll just add to it that this version is much better. Trevor Horn's vocals are much better on these tracks. I don't know what he done to it, but it's got, you know, the other one I said it lacked something. It doesn't lack anything now. It's a pretty good album, and if I listen to this album now, this is the go-to version. I very rarely put the original version on because I think this sounds a lot better. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 12 after I've had a sip of coffee, we have the 19th album, released in 2001, Magnification. This is the only album that was recorded as a 4-piece with no keyboards. It was the final album to feature founding member John Anderson. So after Igor Kushchev left, the band agreed to record a new studio album with an orchestra instead. Second time they've worked with orchestra since Time in the Word. So we've got John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, Alan White, and the San Diego Symphony Orchestra. First track is Magnification. Really love this song. This is old style Yes. Some great guitar work from Mr. Howe. Superb stuff. Spirit of Survival, solid track. Lots of energy on this. Great bass line. Then we get Don't Go. I love this song. I love John's vocal on that. Very good. Sounds good live, and they did it with the orchestra as well. Each Day I Give. Start again, Iain. Give Love Each Day. Really works well with the orchestra. Gives this track a lot of depth. Very good track. Can You Imagine? It's right. It's not my favourite off the album. We Agree. Another good track. Pretty good. Soft as a Dove. I love this classical guitar bits from Steve in this. It really works well, and it's complemented with a lovely piece of flute work. Dreamtime, a prog track with an orchestra, absolutely brilliant. And then we get my favourite piece, it's called In the Presence. Again, split up. We've got Deeper, The Death of Ego, True Beginner. Another really good track, best one on the album. John's voice, brilliant. It's got all them elements of old Yes, but with the orchestra it really sounds great. Great track. Play that track. It's one of them tracks you can put on and just listen to. Time is Time, bit of a failure, is it? Not very good. Okay, a very good album, some really strong songs, great album for John to sign off with. Progressive rock done with, but the band and the orchestra really work well on this album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.1. Okay, coming in at number 11. Go to the 9th album, released in 1978. Tormato. This is the last album with John Anderson and Rick Wakeman for a little while. So we've got John Anderson, Steve Howell, Chris Squire, Rick Wakeman, and Alan White. Future Times Rejoice. Nice keyboard stuff here from Rick Wakeman. Absolutely great, but the track is a little bit disjointed in places. It doesn't flow very well. Don't Kill the Whale, classic. Loved it, love this. Favourite track on the album. Everyone likes this one. It's a pretty cool track. Mad Wriggle, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a nice track, nice mandolin from here, from Steve. Great vocal. Release. Chris Squire's bass again thumps along. Love the sound he gets. Nice keyboards here from Rick as well. Good stuff. Arriving UFO, very proggy. It does hark back. This album had lots of problems recording. The split was there. Tell everyone wasn't getting on very well, but they pulled together on this. The drumming from Alan White on this is superb. Circus of Heaven, never been keen on that track. I love the vocals on this. It's split between John and Chris. Pretty cool. Nice little track. On the Silent Wings of Freedom, the best thing about this is Chris Squire's bass. There's nothing else pretty good. Alan's drumming's pretty good. Okay, this album has got some highlights. Probably of this lineup of Yes, probably their weakest album, but it's still got some good tracks on it. So I'm still going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.2. Okay, coming in at number 10, we go way back to 1969 to the debut album, basically called Yes. This has got the original lineup, of course. We've got John Anderson, Peter Banks, Chris Squire, Tony Kaye and Bill Bruford. Opens up with my favourite track on the album, Beyond and Before. Love that opening guitar from Peter Banks. It's already sounding like, oh, this is going to be a good band. It's definitely got that sound that we all come to love. Then we get a cover version of The Byrds, I See You. Pretty jazzy version of this. I like it actually. Then we get Yesterday and Today. Really nice song. Great guitar work from Peter Banks, and the vocal of John Anderson is fantastic on this. Looking Around, it's got that distinctive sound, got that lovely keyboard from Tony Kaye, that richness of the Hammond. Great drumming from Bill Bruford, pretty good. Then we get Harold Land, bit of mixture of pop and psychedelia here. Again, a great bass line from Chris Squire. Then we get a chirpy little version of the Beatles' Every Little Thing. I don't mind that at all. Sweetness. This one isn't too bad. One of the weaker tracks on the album, I think. Survival. Great bass line. Very pastiche. Nice keyboard from Mr. Kaye. Every Day. A very early prog track here. Bill Bruford is fantastic on this. Just proves what a great drummer he became. Solid debut album. Lots of elements of that progressive sound that we've come to love. Very good. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 9, we have the 11th album released in 1983. It is 90125. This is the first album of this incarnation of Yes, first album for Trevor Rabin. It's a return welcome to Tony Kaye into the band. First album since I think the Yes album in 1971. Opens up with The Owner of a Lonely Heart. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, classic track. Gets played a lot, but I still like it. Then we get my favourite track on here, Hold On. Now if you've got the video of this tour, I love how it's introduced. Old John goes, on the drums, Mr. Alan White, it's great to be here tonight, and then you get that from Trevor. Solid track. I do like that. One of my favourite tracks by Yes, actually. It Can Happen, another great track. I love the bass line from Chris Squire. That little all the way through. Brilliant. Changes. No, I've never been keen on this one. I don't know. I know a lot of people like this, but I don't. I just think it's a little bit disjointed and doesn't flow very well. Then we get Cinema, that little guitar piece. Great guitar work from Trevor Rabin. Oh, blah, blah. Short and sweet, but really good. Leave It. I love the harmonies in this. At the beginning, it's absolutely brilliant. And then you get the vocal that sort of, you get John singing the main, and then Trevor does a little bit. Complements John very well on that track. Superb track. Our song, it's okay. Some of the guitar work's good. If you close your eyes, or sometimes you forget that it's Trevor Rabin and not Steve Howell. That's how good this guitar solo is. City of Love, boom boom, from Chris Squire. Boom boom. That's all I can hear. Every time I hear that, well, that's all I can hear is that thumping bass line. Hearts, it's an okay track. Yeah, very 80s produced. Okay, very good album. One of their biggest selling album. One of their biggest selling albums. It's not a classic though. I know there's lots of people that love this album. There's a lot of non-Yes fans that think this is the bee's knees, and that's great. But to us old dinosaur Yes fans, it's not a classic. But I do like the album, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good album. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay, coming in at number 8 then, we go to the second album released in 1970. It's the last album that Peter Banks played on. Basically, he didn't like the idea of having the orchestra. So during the tour in 1970, he said, right, that's it, I've had enough. Well, basically he was fired as they fell with, and he left and Steve Howell came in. So on this album we've got John Anderson, Peter Banks, Chris Squire, Tony Kaye and Bill Bruford. Opens up with the brilliant "No opportunity necessary, no experience needed." I would say this is the first track that you get sampling ever. Anyone that can bring in the theme to the big country, to the western film, is pretty good, and I love how it works and it fits great. No problem with that one. Great track. Then we get solid track, great drumming from Bill Bruford, one of the best progressive rock drummers in the business, and he plays well. Then we get Every Days again, very early prog track, as we said. Love Bill's drumming on that one as well. Sweet Dreams, solid track. I love Peter Banks' guitar in this, it's pretty good. Then we've got The Prophet. This is more jazzy, got a jazzy feel to it, really good, I do like that. Clear Days, a pastiche soul track. Doesn't really fit on the album, but it's a good track. Then we get my favourite. I'd say I'd consider this one of the first real prog tracks that Yes have put on an album. Astral Traveller. Great guitar solo from Peter Banks. Then the album ends up with the title track, A Time and a Word. I love this track. Classic Yes. Love John's vocal. Another good album, a real first progressive rock album up from Yes. It's got some good tracks. It's not quite there though. It's still a great album to listen to. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.9. Okay then, coming in at number 7, we go to the 6th album, released in 1973. It was the first album that featured Alan White on drums, and after this one Rick Wakeman disappeared again for a little while. We're talking about the Tales from Topographic Oceans. So this is John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, Rick Wakeman and Alan White. Opens up, this is just 4 songs of 20 minutes long. It's a very hard album to listen to all the way through. Opens up with the revealing science of God, Dance of the Dawn. Out of the 4 tracks, this is my favourite. It flows well. It's got some nice textures of guitar, some nice drumming from Alan. Good start for him. The keyboards on this that make it though. Rick's keyboards on this is fantastic. It's sort of, this is how it flows well. It's Rick Wakeman that keeps this track flowing well. The second track is The Remembering, High the Memory. This isn't too bad. I do struggle with this track at times. This one again is a little bit disjointed. Goes off into tangents and side tangents. I don't think this one flows as well. The Ancient, Giant Under the Sun. This one I just can't get on with it. I really struggle with this even now. I've tried to listen to it. I listened to it not so long ago just to hear. I put it under the headphones to see if I could really get into this, and I can't. It's too disjointed. It's too bizarre. I just find it very, very weird. And then we get Ritual, Nous Sommes du Soleil. This is one they play a lot live. This is a little bit more cohesive. It flows quite well, and it's the second favourite track on the album. As I said, this is such a long album. 4 tracks of nearly 20 minutes. Very clever stuff. I can't take that away from it. But to listen to this album from start to finish, I think I've only done it about 4 or 5 times. I think the last time I listened to this all the way through was on a flight from London to Mexico into a turbulent winter. Was on the plane for 9.5 hours. So I thought, put something on long to listen to, and I sat and listened to this, and I sort of appreciated it. It made the time go a little bit better. But at the end of the day, I've still got to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10 because it is some sublime playing in places. Okay, coming in at number 6, we go to 1977, 8th studio album, Going for the One. This has got John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Squire and Rick Wakeman. He plays a church organ that's in St Martin's in Vevey. Opens up with, I forgot Alan White was on the drums. Opens up with Going for the One. I just love that slide guitar from Steve Howe at the beginning. And then it goes off into a little weird that you don't expect it to go into, and it's a pretty good track. John's vocal on that is great. Turn of the Century, another great track. Keyboards are just pretty good. John's vocals are fantastic as well. Then we get another great track, Parallels. Love that rich Hammond organ sound, sounds really good. You got Steve's guitar work all through this track. Little bits of heavy, little bits of texture. Superb stuff. Then we get the wonderful, wonderful Stories. It's just a classic song. Nice, slow, great vocal from John. Then we get Awaken. Wow, what a track. That church organ just is awesome. Steve is sublime on this. This is the best track on this album. This is a very, very special track for me. I do love it. Okay, this album was probably the truly last great album of the 70s. There's not a bad track on it. one you can play from start to finish, no problem. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.4. Coming in at number 5 then, go to the 7th album, released in 1974. After the Tales of can't even say it now, can I? After the Tales of Topographic Oceans, Rick said, I've had enough of this, I can't cope with this rubbish. And he left. So they brought in Patrick Moraz, who'd worked with Vangelis. So we've got John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, Patrick Moraz and Alan White. Opens up with the brilliant Gates of Delirium. Fine piece of music. What's the best bit about this is that lovely piece towards the end called Soon. Now I've got on the live albums you get the solos and John sings that and it's wonderful. I love that piece of that, and it just makes that track even more special. It's got everything. It's got the weirdness, it's got the little bits of silliness, it's got the you know, all that stuff that prog everyone goes, why do you listen to this? And that's why we listen to it. Great track. Then we get Sound Chaser. It's a little bit disjointed, but the guitar work from Steve is brilliant, especially in that middle bit. Ooh, great stuff. Then we got To Be Over, some interesting keyboard effects from Patrick Moraz. I love it. A bass line from Chris again, one of his classics. Great track. This album is great. I think if you went again, it's one of them albums, one of the great prog albums. Some great work on this album. The Great Delirium is just awesome. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. The old throat's going today. Okay, coming in number 4. Go to the 10th album, released in 1980. Drama. First album that featured Trevor Horn and Jeffrey Downes. So we've got Jeff Downes, Trevor Horn on the vocals, Steve Howe, Chris Squire and Alan White. Opens up with one of my favourite tracks, Machine Messiah. Love the guitar work at the beginning of this, both from Chris and Steve. Love this. And it goes off into some classical music, and it's just a great track, great stuff. Then we get White Car, very short piece, but a great vocal from Trevor Horn. Then we get Does It Really Happen, one of Chris Squire's classic bass lines here, really good arrangement. Jeff Downes' keyboards are superb in this, pretty good track. Then we get Into the Lens, Trevor Horn's best vocal in Yes. White's drumming on this is pretty good as well. Run Through the Light. Now this is a track that was actually written by John Anderson. Jeffrey Howe, Downes, Trevor Horn. Steve Howe's on fire on this. Great guitar solo. Then we get another classic track, Tempest Fugit. That bass and keyboards really work well together. Another excellent vocal from Trevor on this. Great stuff. This, I think, album revived Yes, without a doubt. It after Tormato, things were pretty boggy and no one was getting on. Produced well by Trevor. He's a great producer. Love this album to death. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.6. Okay, we've got to the top 3, and boy was this hard. Well, number 1 wasn't so hard. It was just putting 2 and 3. Had to keep listening to these 2 albums, but I finally got it to this. Next week it'll probably change. So, coming in at number 3, we get to the 3rd studio album, released in 1971. It's the Yes album. First album that featured Steve Howell on guitars, and it was the last to feature Tony Kaye until 90125. John Anderson, Chris Squire, Steve Howell, Tony Kaye and Bill Bruford. Opens up with the brilliant Yours Is No Disgrace. Love this song. Magical drumming from Bill Bruford. Chris Squire on the bass. Great bass line. Then we get Clap. Recorded. This is a live piece on stage. Love Steve Howell's jazzy acoustic in this. Absolutely fantastic track. Then we get my favourite ever track by Yes, Starship Trooper. Love this. Get Life Seeker, Disillusion and Worm. Opens up. That opening bit in Life Seeker is just fantastic. It's delicate, nice keyboard, nice guitar pieces from Steve. Then you go into Disillusion, which is the funky little bit. Nice guitar again. But the best bit of this is the final bit, Worm. Starts off with that ding, 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 you know, and then you get the thumping bass from Chris Squire. That sort of the last piece, Worm, really is dominated by that bass line. It's booming, it's a belter, and it's Starship Trooper is their Child in Time, their July Morning. It's one of them outstanding tracks. Then we get I've Seen All Good People, another classic track. Again, split up. You get All the Good Your Move, All Good People. Your Move is the slower piece and the nice harmonies, and then you go into the Good People. Great rock guitar from Steve Howell. And the harmonies are brilliant on that again. Great track. Then we get Adventure. One of the weakest tracks on the album. It's okay. Then we get the Perpetual Change. Another great track. I love John's vocal in this. Classic album. Okay, this was the album that really put Yes on the map. Great album. Apart from that one track, solid album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.8. Okay, coming in at number 2, got the 4th album, released in 1971, Fragile. First album that saw Rick Wakeman. So we got John Anderson, Steve Howell, Chris Squire, Rick Wakeman and Bill Bruford. Opens up with that classic Roundabout. Don't you love that start, that dum, ding, 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 and then you got that on the keyboards. Then it goes straight into a great Chris Squire bass line. Brilliant track. Then we get Cans and Brahms. A little bit of quirky stuff from Mr. Rick Wakeman and Brahms. We Have Heaven. I love this. It's short, but it's quirky. Then we get a classic song, South Side of the Sky. Fabulous song. Harmonies on this. Bill Bruford's drumming again is fantastic. Some of the best. I think he did some of his best drumming on this album. Superb track. Then we get a little bit of Prog, Self-Indulgent, 5% of Nothing from Bill Bruford. Then we get the brilliant Long Distance Runaround. I love that jazzy guitar on this from Steve Howell, accompanied by Brooke Chris's booming bass line. and some sublime drumming from Bill Bruford makes this such a classic track. Then we get the Fish. Chris Squire's on fire. That distinctive Rickenbauer bass line, fantastic. Self-indulgent jazz prog, I love it. Mood for the Day, again some nice little virtuoso guitar work from Steve Howell on the acoustic guitar. Then we get the sublime, one of my favourite tracks again, Heart of the Sunrise. Love the start of that. The interplay between Rick Wakeman and Steve Howell on this is fantastic. It's just an absolute belter of a track. Love it. Love it live. It's just full of energy. Belter of an album. Got some of the best prog tracks you'll ever hear. Got some nice little virtuoso solos on this. Shows how good these musicians are. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.9. Okay, my number one. This is an album that every person that's into prog, or you want to get into prog, this is the one you play them, without a doubt. Fifth album, released in 1972, Close to the Edge, of course. It's the last to feature Bill Bruford on the drums until he came back and did that thing in Union. So this is John Anderson, Steve Howell, Chris Squire, Rick Wakeman and Bill Bruford. Opens up with probably one of the best ever prog tracks ever written. It's the title track, Close to the Edge. We've got The Solid of Time, Total Mass, Retain, I Get Up, I Get Down, Seasons of the Man. This is the definition of progressive rock, isn't it? The start is just crazy and sublime. 5 musicians doing their own thing, but it works and it fits. I love the lyrics on this as well. John's vocal is fantastic, especially during the Get Me Up, Get Me Down. Wonderful stuff. Then you get the end bit. This and get the it's during the last bit. The fantastic keyboards of Rick Wakeman. Bill Bruford's drumming on this is just fantastic. I've put, okay, it's a long track, but I've put it in the playlist because you can't do a playlist of your favourite Yes tracks without putting this beauty in. Brilliant track. Next track, again, another wonderful track, You and I. It's just a great piece of music here again. Lovely song, still a big favourite. Was in the set for a long time. The vocal from John on this at the beginning is lovely. That bass line in Eclipse is fantastic, and then you get the keyboards is just, and the guitar at the end is just fantastic. I love this track. And the last track, the old opener in the old days, Siberian Catru. Love that jazzy start. And then I just love it all. Love this track. I just think it's just classic Yes, isn't it? Okay, this has got 3 tracks on it, but 3 of the best quality progressive rock tracks you'll ever hear. Play this album a lot. It's got so much quality. From start to finish, and you don't realise how quickly it goes. I mean, you've got 18:12 is the opening track, 10:12, about 8 minutes, and it goes like that. It's just brilliant. So it's only one score, isn't there? It's a 10 out of 10 every day of the week. It's probably my favourite prog album ever. I just love this album to bits. Love playing this. Even though when I started this ranking it went on the bit of paper at number 1, I still hadn't put the album on because I love it. Okay, that's Yes done. What we got tomorrow? Let's look at the old scoreboard. Then and Now is Santana. Love some of it. Love a lot of his stuff. I haven't got a lot of his stuff. Got more of his earlier stuff than the band. And then they've got a greatest hits album. So I'm looking forward to that. And tomorrow's live, not live tomorrow. It's album covers tomorrow, Iain. You're going day ahead of yourself. We've got looking at the Whitesnake album covers. I've done the lot because its other title is how many album covers can we get from one emblem? Because that's what it is really. So we're doing that, and then tomorrow we've got the live stream round about 8 o'clock. If you're not doing anything, come and join us, join in. So have a great day, everyone. Hopefully this will get out before midnight. As this is so slow around here, we're still on clockwork. Anyway, if you like what we're doing, just subscribe. Simple as. Got some great shows coming up, which I'll tell you all about tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.